making as much money as they used to.
So if the Qantas Sale Act is repealed, is it not the case that the future owners of Qantas would be foreign government-owned and foreign-backed airlines?
The likelihood, it opens up Qantas to a number of potential buyers, but the likelihood is that it's, given the interest in the airline in the past, it would be foreign-owned airlines that would have the interest.
Right. So what would what motivations would these governments have to ensure strong maintenance and engineering industries and also the tourism industry in Australia remains strong and thoroughly serviced?
They would want a strong business and Qantas to be a strong business going forward. But it's the same, Senator.
But can I just ask on that? You say that they would, but if they are foreign-owned airlines, they may have interest in other airlines that it would suit to run Qantas into the ground.
Yeah, and that's what I was just about to say. Thank you, Senator. I mean, this is exactly the same with Virgin, which is owned by 3 foreign-owned airlines, state-owned airlines, Air New Zealand, Singapore and Etihad. And so if that has been allowed under the rules for a competitor to do, if you really want Qantas into the future to be successful, you have to free it up and allow it to have the same competitive dynamic as Virgin. And Virgin's owners have that ability.
So just going to one of your opening remarks, you spoke about blatant fear-mongering with regard to some union statements when you were talking about safety. That's a very strong statement to make. I'm assuming you looked at the evidence that was given at the inquiry. So are you refuting all that evidence and the documentation that was given with it?
I've supplied a detailed response to that, and we have tabled that to the committee, which goes through the ALEA's claims that they made last Friday and outlines them in detail and why they're wrong, why they're inaccurate and why they're scaremongering.
So are you saying that that information and the documentation is wrong, or that the aircraft was still safe and that what was identified was not a problem? That's two different ways to approach it. Because I haven't seen the document you're referring to.
So you can read the document, and it goes through each of the claims that are made by the Lamies Union and talks about the details on them. And in some cases, the information is inaccurate. In some cases, the information claims there was a safety risk when there wasn't a safety risk. And in some cases, it's misrepresenting exactly what's occurred. So we go through them, go through all of the claims in detail.
Thank you. I'll come back to that one. How many A320s has the Qantas Group taken delivery of but not put into service?
Jane?
Sure. Qantas has not taken delivery of A320s that it's not put into service. Jetstar Hong Kong, which we have a minority investment in, has taken 9 aircraft that it's not put into service because it doesn't yet have regulatory approval. And that is the only business in the group that that we have an investment in that has not been flying the aircraft it's taken delivery of.
Jane, as we work on through.
What liability does Qantas have for that minority holding, please?
I think we addressed that last Friday. We've got a 1/3 investment in Jetstar Hong Kong. Jetstar Hong Kong's made the decision on fleet. Jetstar Hong Kong holds a financial obligation for the fleet and the liabilities associated with the fleet.
So where are the aircraft stored? And I was interested in how much are the leases and the parking fees costing you?
The aircraft are stored in Toulouse, France, and I'm not sure how much we can provide to you on notice given commercial in confidence, but we'll be happy to take on notice and provide you what's available.
And those fees are the responsibility of Jetstar Hong Kong, not the responsibility of the Qantas Group.
It most definitely fits in when you try to make a judgment on the health of Qantas's financial standing.
But can I say, Senator, I think there's a few important points that we represented last Friday, because if we're asking the same questions again, we definitely need to restate them. First of all, the associate businesses in Jetstar during the 6 months ending December of 2013 lost $27 million in total. That was the total cost involved in all of these aircraft and total costs in those associates. Secondly, it's worthwhile pointing out that this is not unique. Jane went through the process that's happened around the globe. When airlines start up, there is a disjoint between getting the aircraft for a new airline and having the aircraft operating certificate, which typically follows after you've proven and had the aircraft and the traffic rights. We pointed out, for example, that Virgin America had to wait a year and had over 15 aircraft on the ground for over a year before they got traffic rights in the United States. Skymark in Japan had aircraft sitting around for months waiting for aircraft.
Okay.
We could go through lists and
so
lists
you've
of
made your
airlines,
point. No,
Senator,
thank you for
as we
making
did
the
last
point.
week.
Okay, thank you for making the point. With regard, going back to one of Senator Stall's questions about jobs going offshore, you said you have no plans for further jobs going offshore. Do you rule out that if there was a change to the Qantas Sale Act, do you rule out any jobs going overseas?
Senator, as I said, I think before to this and to a lot of hypotheticals, I'm not going to rule anything in or anything out.
Right, so jobs could go overseas.
Sorry, Senator, I said I'm not ruling anything in or anything out. It's very different from what you've said. We're not ruling anything in or out.
Right, so that's actually different from saying there's no plans. It's actually leaving the door wide open.
But Senator, what this is all about as we come back to, and the reason why we're here is that I think everybody around the table has recognised there is a distortion in the playing field, and as a consequence of where we are, we're trying to make sure that we have the same flexibility as a competitor that does all of its heavy maintenance offshore, a competitor that does all of its call centres offshore.
But you still
this is all about trying to maintain that flexibility.
For the last inquiry and this inquiry, your one line of argument is about a level playing field, and beyond that, there isn't the plan. There isn't the plan of what you'll do.
Can I say, Senator? I mean, that's what it's all about. There's we talked about different ways of levelling the playing field. At the end of the day, we're here talking about repeal of Part 3 of the Qantas Sale Act in order to give it the same ability as a competitor. At the moment, I think everybody recognises we don't have the same ability as a competitor, and something needs to be done to correct that.
But the same ability of a competitor to be owned by a foreign government-owned airline.
Essentially, they have that ability, 3 foreign government-owned airlines, and the ability to have the flexibility around where they do their operations. Which
surely begs the question about the possibilities of our own government owning the airline.
So
why do we go to foreign governments?
So, well, we have gone through, as we said, Senator, in my opening remarks, we've gone through the discussions with now 3 successive governments, the Gillard government, the Rudd government and the Abbott government, and the process that we've come to at the end of the day, which being the cabinet decision, is that the best way to get the level playing field from the government is to repeal Part 3 of the Qantas Sale Act. So we are here today on that.
Exploring heading to a level playing field and what that might deliver, which you're obviously suggesting would be Qantas in a more healthy financial state. I understand that Cathay Pacific and Air New Zealand have posted record profits by flying full service. Why has Qantas concentrated on low-cost, low-yield business?
Sorry, Senator. I mean, I think first of all, that's such a broad question. There's a lot of airlines around the world that are in different dynamics when it comes to the markets that they're operating in. Markets like Air New Zealand have there's different dynamics in terms of competition and how people compete on it. For example, Air New Zealand have no competition in Auckland, LA, from New Zealand to the United States. If Qantas had no competition on the Australia-US market, we'd be making a lot of money as well. There's different dynamics when it comes to different airlines, and to just say that airlines that are in the full service category make money discounts the fact that some of the most profitable airlines around the globe are actually low-cost carriers. Ryanair, EasyJet and Southwest make a lot of money. And Qantas is unique in the world and seen and recognised around the world as having been really successful in developing a 2-brand strategy and operating an amazing premium airline and an amazing low-cost carrier. We have both, and we're successful at both, and have been successful for a long time. We are in a unique dynamic, as we talked about last Friday in the Australian market, where we've had an onslaught of capacity being added by foreign carriers, where we've had domestic competition and carriers willing to lose. Tiger, 250 million over the last 7 years. Virgin, 400 million since 2009. And we've seen record fuel prices in Aussie dollars hit us in this market. They're the unique circumstances that we're competing against. And we need to set the dynamics and the policy settings in such a way for us to be able to do
You
that.
certainly earn your money,
Last
Mr.
question.
Joyce. You certainly earn your money, Mr. Joyce, when you sit here and you say it's successful, and at the same time you're saying how desperate it is. But could you take this question on notice, because I'm told I'm out of time? Could you provide with us the aviation experience that your board members have?
Yes, I can, and I'll do that now,
Thank you,
Senator.
Mr. Evans, on Friday I asked Mr Joyce questions about statements made by Qantas on the 17th of February 2011 that Qantas improved yield by 9%, that strong revenue recovery across both international and domestic businesses. Then on the 22nd of June 2011, the international component of Qantas was singled out for special attention in a statement made by Qantas that it was losing something approximately $200 million. I tried to establish what occurred in that period from the 17th of February to the 22nd of June. Mr Joyce did not remember those statements. Do you remember those statements, Mr Evans?
Yes, Senator. So subsequent to
No, I'm asking you,
Friday, we've gone back over the documentation.
Right. And that's all I needed to know from you. Mr Joyce, can you please tell me what happened in that 4-month period that there was such a massive turnaround in the statements?
Mr Evans is going to answer that question.
No, I'd like you to answer it, please.
I'm happy for Mr Evans to answer.
Well, I'd like you to answer it.
He's got the facts.
So the situation is that the two statements are completely consistent with each other. If you go back to that period of time, the business was recovering from the GFC. This was February 2011. The GFC hit us in financial year 09. We began recovering from that in financial year 10 and recovered further in financial year 11. And the comment that was made on the 17th of February was around the recovery that the business was seeing. So our yields had improved in that year, but that was a recovery from a GFC where we saw our yields decline by approximately 25% across the business as a whole. We also said in that 17th of February statement, if you read on, we said whilst demand on key international routes continues to improve, the international environment remains challenging. We remain committed to improving the performance of Qantas's international business. So even on the 17th of February, we called out that there were challenges in the international business. Subsequently, on the 22nd of June, we did clarify for the first time, because prior to that we had talked about Qantas in totality. And for the first time on the 22nd of June, we did clarify the performance of the international business separately. And subsequent to that, we've clarified it more, and it is now a separate segment in our financial statements. But the fact that the Qantas business as a whole in that first half of financial year 11 made $165 million, which was part of the statement on the 17th of February, no way indicated that the international business was making profits.
Sure. So, but the share price, as I understand it, fell by about 27% from the 17th of February to, I think, the 23rd of June. There was a significant decline in the share price in that period, wasn't there?
I don't recall the exact share price
but there was a
across
drop.
that period.
Yes,
this is a tough environment, and there was a wide range of reasons why share prices moved.
And that was the first time you advised the market about Qantas International on the 22nd of June 2011?
That's correct.
That's right.
Senator Xenophon, I'm going to allow you latitude because it's your time to some extent, but we are here looking at the bill, which I think you can draw a very distant relation to what you inquire about.
I don't want to burn up time arguing with you, Chair, but the fact is these are relevant matters in terms of considering.
I'm just drawing your attention to the purpose of why we're here, but it's your time. So.
Sure, and I say that it's relevant to that purpose. Thank you, Chair. So can I just ask, from the 17th of February to 2011 till just prior to the announcement of the 22nd of June 2011, did any Qantas Group director or executive meet or brief any institutional investors?
I can't recall what briefings took place 3 years ago.
Can I ask Mr Joyce that question?
We have ongoing briefings that take place, but they always, as you know, Senator, we know our continuous disclosure requirements, and anything that we have as briefings is always publicly available information.
Sure. And could you, on notice, just advise me of any briefings of institutional investors, and also in the period, in the 2 months leading up to the public announcement on the 27th of February 2014, whether there were any Qantas Group director or executive met or briefed any institutional investors?
Sure.